Welcome back, Francophiles. Welcome back to the channel. And yes, there is only 2 days to go before the 14th of February, which is Valentine's Day. So of course, everybody's on the lookout for beautiful recipes, beautiful sweets and treats for their loved one. And here at the French Cooking Academy, of course, we're gonna try to make something, but something a bit different. I managed to dig out a dessert, a recipe that I've done like not so long ago, kind of a little practice on the side, and it's called de vacherin. Doesn't mean anything to you, of course, in English. So let me tell you what is a vacherin. It is an ice cream dessert which is made of palettes and little circles of French meringues. And then it's going to be a stacking game. So you got the palette of meringue stacked up with vanilla ice cream, which is then stacked up with raspberry sorbet, another palette of meringue, and then you're going to decorate with whipped cream, fresh fruits, and you serve the whole lot with a homemade raspberry coulis or raspberry sauce. It's very delicious. So the two key things today to remember, the two things we're going to learn is how to make a French meringue. That's number one. And number two, we're going to learn how to use that thing. This is a food ring, or it's called a food stacker. And this is the tool that is used in restaurants to give this dessert that professional look, because you can stack things up in there, put it on a plate, and when you remove it, bang, magic happens. And this is exactly what we're going to do now. Let's get started, guys. Let's make a sweet Valentine's dessert. Now, I hope I didn't scare you guys with my description of the dessert, because honestly, don't worry, it is an easy dessert to make, as you will see, because we have the ice cream already made, and this is most of the job done. I've got in the freezer a tub of vanilla ice cream and a tub of raspberry sorbet that's gonna go nicely with the dessert. That said, you can use whatever you like for the ice creams. For the French meringue, as a rough guide, very quickly, castor sugar, 2 egg whites, and vanilla extract. For my raspberry sauce, fresh raspberries, lemon and castor sugar. And for my whipped cream, I'm using full cream, or you call it heavy cream in America, mixed with mascarpone and sugar, and that's gonna give a nice whipped cream with lots of body and lots of texture. Now let's get started with our French meringue. So how do we make a French meringue? It's actually very simple, but we need to know how to make it. Now, just as a side note, French meringue is called that way because it is a style of meringue that exists. It's not called French meringue because I'm saying that on the French channel. You got 3 types of meringue. You got the French style meringue, you got the Italian style meringue, and you got the Swiss type of meringue. The French style of meringue is a meringue that is usually more crumbly. It breaks very easily, it's a bit more fragile, and this is why it is used in that type of dessert, because you can actually cut it very easily with a spoon. So how do we make it? The most important, you take your egg whites. You have to make sure there is no egg yolks in there when you separate. So you first put your egg whites in there with a tiny little bit of salt, and we're gonna start whisking the whole mix. Now, if you have a hand mixer, please use that. I'm just using this because that's all I have. So we're gonna mix this until it starts to foam. Now, when you get a mix like this, that's a bit foamy, we're gonna add 1/3 of our sugar in there. Okay, so I've got 120 grams, so I'm adding 40 grams of my sugar, reserving the rest for later. When I put my sugar in, I put the lid back on, and I keep on mixing until the meringue is all done. Done. So after a few minutes, your meringue becomes stiff, and when you actually take a spatula or a bit of a spoon and you take a bit like that, when you've got these little bits here, these little points, and it's stiff, it means it's ready. So I'm going to transfer this into a clean container, and we're going to add the rest of the sugar manually. Alright, the step 1 of the French meringue is complete. Now the rest is happening by hand. You got your meringue here, your egg whites. You take drops, maybe like 1 or 2 drops of vanilla extract. The rest of your sugar, and you're gonna start to basically sprinkle over, bit by bit, and turning your meringue with your rubber spatula, and basically incorporate the sugar. That's how you make the French meringue, okay? So once the sugar is incorporated, you add a little bit more. And you continue the process until everything is done. So I'm gonna now take my meringue, put it in a piping bag, and we're gonna lay down the pallets of meringue. Okay, so one trick I'm doing to know the size of which the pallets are gonna be, I'm taking my food ring in a bit of oil like that, little bit, and I'm marking basically rings. I'm taking my piping bag and starting from the center, you're just gonna try to make a circle, and don't worry, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm not a master at this, like I always say. You know, so you just try to make a disc of meringue. Alright, all done. As you can see, I've sprinkled some icing sugar on top. This is my personal touch. You don't have to do it, but it adds some crispiness. When this is ready, we're gonna put this in the oven at 100 degrees Celsius or 200 degrees Fahrenheit for at least an hour of cooking. So now that our meringues are in the oven, the hardest part of the job is done. We can now continue with the easy stuff. So, a raspberry coulis or the raspberry sauce, you wash your raspberries, make sure you keep 1 or 2 or 3 for the decoration, depending on how many you use. Remember that I'm using half of the ingredients listed on the video description. So you start off by mixing everything. When your mix is ready, you're gonna add your sugar. This is the confectionery sugar. And I'm adding as well a little bit of lime. I prefer lime because it's gonna kind of add a little, just a squeeze or two. It's gonna add that tropical edge and it's gonna go very well with the sorbet. And then again, okay, the mixing is finished right here, and now I'm gonna be filtering the whole mix behind in that little sieve in the back. Alright, so like I just said, the last step, you take all of your coulis that you've been mixing, pour everything in a smaller container, whatever you want. And the last step consists basically of passing this through the sieve. And this is exactly how easy it is to make a raspberry sauce or raspberry coulis. So before we go, quick taste. Wow. Love raspberry. Have it in a bowl. You're gonna reserve this in the fridge, plastic wrap, until we make the ice cream and the meringue is ready. And now let's stack our ice cream. So a quick reminder, guys, you need to have one or multiple of these food rings to make that recipe that will make your life much easier. I'm just doing one stack here for the example, but if you want 2, 3 or 4, you're gonna have to have 2, 3 or 4 food rings. Other advice, have something like this or similar, or a spoon, large spoon, to actually press down all of the ice cream. That's very handy. And also make sure you take your ice cream out of the fridge a little bit before, so you can scoop out the ice cream easily and put it in the food stacker. Now, in terms of measurement, I usually serve 1 scoop per person of ice cream. So I'll start with the vanilla, and I'll make 1 scoop in there, as you can see, a good serving. And I'm just gonna apply a bit of pressure with that tool. There we go. And I'm gonna scoop now the sorbet. So you can take a nice scoop out of the sorbet and make sure you got your whole thing covered. Done. When you've got this, basically you can take some Glad wrap, we're gonna cover it on the top, and you're gonna put it in the freezer. And now for the last bit, let's make our special cream. I'm using here 100 grams of fresh mascarpone. I'm gonna add 30 grams of sugar and 250 ml of heavy cream, which is actually about 1 cup. Now, before I put this in the actual blender or mixer, whatever you have, you need to start mixing the mascarpone and the cream by hand, like that. Okay, you take all of your mix straight into your food processor or your blender. and you're gonna mix it until we get a whipped cream. When it's out of the food processor, this is what you get. The best of both worlds. You got the lightness of the cream and the stiffness of the mascarpone, and it is absolutely excellent when you make dessert. I'm gonna put this in a piping bag and we're gonna dressing the dessert. Okay guys, now we're ready to stack up and make the dessert. Now as you can see here, my meringues are already cooked. They're nice disc, and I'm just gonna take one as the base, and the first thing you're gonna have to do is remove the ice cream and put it on the base of your choice. So I've got here my stack of ice cream. You can see it's nice and neat at the bottom, and now I just need to kind of take it out and put it on there. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just concentrate on that. I'm gonna put my stacker on top. Okay, and using, for instance, I've got like a glass or something that's large enough, I'm just going to try to press on there, and voila, the result of our mix of vanilla and raspberry sorbet. So now I'm going to use this and start to build my dessert. I took a bit of a head start. I've put already my first piece of meringue with the ice cream that's trying to melt with the speed of light. I'm just gonna take a little bit of the coulis that I'm gonna put on here, and then in the restaurant that's what they do. That kind of brand on there. Then after that, basically you can put another layer of this, and then we're going to start decorate by putting little bits of the cream on there. I can put also one here and one there maybe. Okay, we're going to be here. We're just going to put a little bit of this, maybe a section of this, and to finish I'll just grab some raspberries that I'll put on the top for decoration. Maybe one there and maybe one there. Okay, and basically that's it. A simple little dessert that we can serve for a Valentine special. And that completes the video, guys. So sorry, it's a bit of a long process, but honestly it's a very beautiful dessert. You can add more fruits or more cream, as much as you want, but basically this is the idea. So this is called the Vacherin, or this ice cream meringue dessert. Now have a good day and enjoy. Bye bye.